be found from time to time. Keep thinking something like Olivia is what I need to find. What a cracking song Something Like Olivia is from John Mayer. It's an older one, but it's a really, really groovy song. Now the album version is it's a good song, but where it really shines, I think, is in this kind of acoustic groove. There's a video that I found of him online doing just a straight up acoustic version like this. I'll put a link to it down below, but this is what we're going to tackle today because it's so much groovier than the actual studio version. It's standard tuning. It's all about, I've actually broken this song down into 3 levels. So if you think that this is beyond you, fear not, because I'm going to take you through a couple of steps to start with really basic breakdowns of this song, and then we're going to build up to the actual full-on version that you just saw me play. Probably nowhere near as good as John Mayer, but it's all about, it's in the key of G, it's 3 chords. So we've got G, and it's all bar chords by the way too. We've got G, and we've got C, and we've got D. Now we're going to use different voicings for the C and the D, and I'll show you that in a minute. But the 4 bars that we start with are all about this groove on the G, and if you can get that down, then you can get the rest of the song pretty easily. So we start with two of those bass notes, right? But our rhythm is going to be all about this 16th note up and down with our hands. And what I mean by that is this: 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a... So the first thing you want to do is be able to do that. And place that in the song. Said Olivia is taken, but a look like hers can be found from time to time. Right? And a really good practice for any guitar player is to be able to do that 16th note pattern without thinking, without having to worry about it at all with your strumming hand. So practice doing it with all kinds of songs, any tempo. Get that 16th note down, swung, straight, doesn't matter. Get that down and you can master any strumming pattern you need and any groove you need. So this is how we start. Pick or fingers, it does not matter. John, I think, uses a pick. I prefer fingers, but it really doesn't matter because you're hitting the same strings. Now, that's how we start. 2 on the bass note, and then we hit that chord, and we hit it and we cut it short straight away. Right? They're all downstrokes because the little in-between bits come automatically as we're coming back up for another downstroke. So is this kind of the same as, right? Then what he does, hello Floyd. Regular viewers will know Floyd. So we are doing this riff by coming up to the 5th fret. As soon as we hit that chord, bass, bass, chord, come up to the 5th fret E string and go 5 to 7, hammer, then a faster hammer from 5 to 7 on the A string. The faster hammer is like a grace note, so that 5 is almost not there, and you come back down to it. So the actual beat on that is where you land on that 7, right? That's kind of the key to this groove. Now there are lots of little ways that he finishes off that riff. I've tabbed them out really, really accurately on level 3, if you like, of your charts. There's 3 charts available. One's the basic, one's the kind of intermediate, and one's the actual dead on balls accurate version. So I've tabbed it out really, really accurately. Listening to the acoustic version on Spotify, which I'll also put a link to down below, and the acoustic rendition on YouTube, which the link is below for as well. Once you get that riff, and the second time round, he does it, but he moves over a string. It starts on the A string, and then goes up to the D string 7th fret. And all different kinds of ways to come out of that riff to get back to the G. The most important part is that you land on the G on the beat. Everything else kind of, can sort itself out. Go really, really slowly, land on the G on the beat, and the other stuff, trust me, will take care of itself. Just try and get this groove going, make it as basic as you can. Start with level 1 and Olivia is taking what her look like hers. This chord, this is the C chord, but instead of playing a C there or there, which would sound pretty normal, what he does, he uses this. Now, those 3 notes there on the 5th fret, D, G, B strings, which is the top part of your C bar chord. It's also, another way of thinking of it is if you're playing, if you like the cage system, think of a G-shaped chord with a capo on the 5th fret. That gives you a C chord as well. But he's leaving off this note on the E string. So he's got those notes. Now, he hammers onto it from the 5th fret of the A string. And when I strum with my hands, I can actually, with my fingers rather, I can muffle that bass, that E string with my thumb, which makes this easy to play. But if you're playing with your pick, then you can let the tip of this bar finger rest against the side of this string and muffle it that way. Do it again. Said Olivia is taking. And there's another little different thing he does there. Very Hendrixy, but it just sounds great. There's all kinds of different things he does. It's all in your tab, so you can sift through it at your leisure and get every riff down that he does in that video. He does some really nice sliding bits and things as well. Take the time, go through it. It took me a long time to tab it out, so I hope it's useful for you. But the groove is where it's at on this thing. So when we go to the C, something. He does the same thing for the D chord, the 5 chord, if it's a 1-4-5 progression. He does the same thing for the D chord. So your D is there, or your G on the 7th fret is a D chord. So hammer from 7 to 9 on the A string and bar everything across the 7th fret, D, G, B strings. Don't worry about the top E string because it sounds a little bit too nice for this song and it's not necessary. He doesn't use it. Is pretty much the nuts and bolts of the song. Now I've gone over that pretty quickly, but what I want you to do when you're doing this song is to really concentrate on the groove and on that 16th note pattern, because anything that you don't want to hear, any notes that are not being played will come through as an X or a scrape or a ghost note on your rhythm. And if you're doing this on your 16th note grid, it will sound good and it will fill out the rhythm. And then you can just concentrate on making the notes themselves sit where they should, sound nice and clean, and the groove will work itself out. So you can start with those single note versions on your level 1, then you gradually add the strings together, like doing double stops and triple stops if you like, but you're playing a few strings at the same time rather than single notes. Now there's a break, which I'm going to show you as well, because it's the same chord progression, but when he does this break, this kind of little bridge bit, instead of playing G, he plays G7. Now John Mayer, like a lot of guitar players, does something that I cannot do and I've never been able to do, which is comfortably put your thumb over the top of the neck to fret the note on the E string, and even go so far as to muffle the A string as well while you're doing it. I can't do that, but if you can, more power to you, because that's the way he plays that G7. He's using the thumb to muffle, to fret rather, the note on the 3rd fret of the E string. So I'm going to do the straight up G bar chord, G7 bar chord this way, because this is how I would play the bridge if I can't get my thumb over the top. And then he goes to a C7 like that, and if you played that note on the 3rd fret of the B string, it'd be a C9, which would also work, but I think he just does the C7 here from what I can hear. One of the things he does in this little section, instead of going, he goes to get there, to end up there on the 3rd, with his 3rd finger on the 5th fret, which enables him to go, to do this little groovy slide where he goes 5-7, back to 5, then the same thing, 5-7, back to 5, really, really quickly, but really, really greasily and smoothly, and back down to there. And after the G7, back to the G7, he gets up to this C here. Now again, he's fretting the 8th fret with his thumb on the E string, which allows him to do this beautiful chord. I'm going to show you the way I do it, which is reaching across with my 2nd finger, playing the 7th fret G string, 8th fret B string, but with my 3rd finger there, and hammering on from 7 to 9 on the G string, and then reaching across with my pinky to the 9th fret of the D string, making that a C sus2 up to a C, and then a C major 7 sus2. Beautiful chord. Another thing is uses those little blue notes going up through there in that riff. It's all on your tab. It's worth poking into. I know I keep saying that, but there's just so much in there, and he will probably never play it exactly the same way twice, which I don't think any guitarist should really, but that's just me. And you can take these riffs and you can put them anywhere, and you can use them in other songs and what have you. But it enables you to play this song more freely if you are not hung up on doing exactly the right riff in the right place according to that particular version of the song. See you, Floyd. Then that's the break. And it's just G7, C7, and turning around with D and C, back to G. I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope it was useful. If you've got any questions, reach out to me and I'll try and help you through it. But if you download those 3 charts, you'll see that, it goes from simple to medium to the actual, realistic version of what John Mayer is playing there. But like I said, don't get hung up on doing everything everywhere in exactly the right place. Just use the tab to get those licks under your fingers, get the groove down, and enjoy an absolute cracking song from John Mayer. Thanks for watching. See you here again next time.